Hello, welcome to West Ham Grumble on Irons United with me, Avka Sparrow. So what a week it's been in the West Ham world. Yep, we went up to Sheffield United on Friday night and came away with a 1-0 loss. And really, it should have been a 1-1 draw, I suppose, at best. Let's face it, it wasn't the best of match. We weren't on our finest form either under Moyes. Our play was still a bit disjointed at times. We kind of in and out of the game. There were lots of errors, lots of mistakes on both parts. I couldn't really say that both performances from Sheffield United or West Ham was that great. But these were tough games. The assumption that we're going to go up to Sheffield and actually just stuff them, or should definitely come away with a win, is nonsense in my opinion. It was always going to be a tough game. They were 5th in the league, or they jumped up to 5th in the league before the rest of the weekend matches. So they're there for a reason. They're playing great football and they're getting great results this season. So fair play to them. Look, we could have had a couple of goals ourselves. Anderson clean on goal. Good movement there from him as well. Good pass forward. But again, get it on target. At least get it on target. Lanzini had a great opportunity at the keeper when he really should have squared it across the 6-yard box for Haller. He had the free kick, a decent free kick as well. But, we had our opportunities, but it wasn't there. I'm leaving the VAR bit till afterwards because we'll talk about that in a minute. Moyes' tactics, I thought they were sound actually, and what he was saying before the game and after the game I think is reasonable as well. I thought, so we did set up okay, we just weren't on song, and I think some of our players weren't at the races either. We're missing Fredericks with that pace as well, although Zabaleta did okay. I thought across the back we were okay, but nothing brilliant. Again, it's our build-up play into the final third, creating those chances and getting those chances on target. They could have put 3 or 4 past us as well with a bit of better finishing as well. So let's come away with the fact that we were robbed of a point. Actually, I think we could, if we'd scored, it would have been probably a smidge more than we deserved, but that's not to say that we should have got that point. Okay, let's move on to the VAR. VAR, yeah, everything that we're talking about right now, from pundits, newspapers, media outlets, and fans alike, whatever, we're all talking about this. For the last 2 seasons, we've all been wanting this. And the writing was on the cards for a long time. So, well, actually, VAR is going to scrutinise decisions a lot more. Now that we've got it, we're kind of all complaining about it. And we think, well, actually, that's the whole point of having it there, to get the VAR to decide those fine decisions. And that's what it is. VAR is not the problem. In my opinion, is not the problem. What it's doing, it's highlighting the problem of the inadequacies of the rule, or the unfairness of the rules, let's say. So let's just take the offside rule. The VAR is actually taking that 3D representation of a 2D representation. That's why it's not always so clear for us viewing at home or in highlights afterwards. But it's taking that information, and from the time the ball was kicked, and it's taking it virtually down to the millimetre. For offside decisions. Now, a few pundits have said we've got to change the laws, and I've said, we've been saying this for a long time. The offside rules are just ridiculous, really. And for the VAR, it just kind of highlights another issue, really, that the offside rule is just too fine. If you're going to make these decisions, there has to be clear, a clear advantage to the attacker, and there isn't a clear advantage to the attacker if it's literally virtually level or half a millimetre or whatever it is. That's something they've got to look at. If you're going to use VAR like this, and you've got to look at that. The other thing is that the VAR is, again, whilst it is technology, it's still human decisions that are making that. Whether the ref calls for it, whether a ref wants to, in other countries, let's say, go to the pitch line, touch line, TV screen. It's happened a couple of times in FA Cup rounds this season. So whether they have to change the way they're using VAR as well. A lot of things are still not being picked up. as well. Lots of challenges, lots of red card challenges, and that's the way it is. So look, we knew it was going to take a while for lots of creases to be ironed out. And there's no doubt it has to be changed. The fan experience in the ground has to be changed as well. Let's get on to this VAR decision for us. We know that throughout the season there's going to be, you know, winners and losers. Sometimes you're going to get a decision against you, sometimes you're not. But fundamentally, they are making correct decisions based upon the law. Now, we've all looked into this handball rule again, and the fact of the matter is, whilst there is provision within the rules to say if there's a deflection onto a hand or whatever, then it's not a handball. That is not in the case of when it leads to a goal, and that's the problem. This led to a goal, a fine work goal. It was a brilliant bit of play. Rice stormed through, tenacity, laid it off brilliantly, like Lanzini should have done to Haller earlier on. Laid it on Snodgrass for me, who just keeps on proving to me to be our best player of the year. Him and Ogbonna are really our best player of the year. I'll get on to Fabianski in a minute, but you know, and he put it away brilliantly. In fact, he put it in a way in the side of the goal, which I didn't think he was going to go for. I thought he would have gone to the far post. But it was a great finish. And that's the problem with VAR. The problem with VAR, it's destroying the fan experience. Let's not forget, before VAR, right, we would all be arguing with each other within our own friend groups, if you like, but online or whatever, about the travesty of a decision, the offside here and all this kind of stuff. Because you've got the other side of technology, of punditry, of TV, whatever, it's showing up these things. And everybody's calling out for a definitive technology to be able to rule on these decisions there and then. But we've got that now, and where it's been highlighted by media for the last sort of 20 odd years, and now we're kind of complaining about it. We're complaining about it because if you're sitting at home, you can see all this sort of stuff going on, but you're not really made aware of what the decision is there for. You're not really understanding, you're not being told the reasoning for a decision as well. You kind of have to work this out yourself. So that for whether you're in the ground or at home, it's kind of irrelevant. You've got people who are in, you know, rooms somewhere else making decisions based upon what they're seeing on video there and then. And we know from the last 20 years watching, you know, TV football, that sometimes you just don't know. No matter how, you know, how much you slow down an incident, whether it's a penalty or whatever, it comes down to interpretation. It comes down to whether you think that's a foul, not foul, red card, not red card, you know, a penalty or not. It's not a foolproof system, and it never was going to be a foolproof system, but the overwhelming decisions that it's making from VAR are the correct ones. The problem is that they're based upon incorrect use, incorrect interpretation, or do you know what? It's just that the rules are wrong. And that's what we should be campaigning for. The rule changes. We should have rule changes for the offside rule. We should have a rule change to this handball rule for a start. Because, you know, if you are making clear attempts to you know, handle the ball, that's different. But if it's deflected onto your hand or your arm and you can't do anything about it, then, you know, come on, we've got to look at this. We've got to look at the decisions. The referees now and the linesmen, but more so the referees, are almost becoming impotent to make any proper decisions themselves. They're relying on this VAR to actually give them the assistance where they want. You know, some of the punditry were talking about our games, saying, well, actually the VAR was wrong because the referee didn't see this, so the VAR shouldn't have shown it anyway. But that's rubbish, because that's the whole point of VAR, to show something that the referee has not seen. Now, unless we're making a rule change to say if the referee didn't see it, or one of the referee's assistants, the linesman, didn't see it, then you just play on. That's different. But there's nowhere in the rules, as far as I know, for that to occur. So again, that bit of punditry is wrong, I'm afraid. You've got to have VAR there, and it's got to pick up all the infringements, all whatever it is. If it's picking up an infringement, or if it's a breaking of any rule, then it's worth its place. The problem is it's not. The rules aren't there to give us a great footballing experience anymore. And VAR has just highlighted that, and it's not the fault of VAR. It is the way it's being used and the rules that are backing it up as well. Within the footballing community, within the fan base, all this kind of stuff, we've been asking for this for so many times. How many people were saying it last season and season before? Oh, when VAR will sort this out. And now we've got it. I hate it. I hate VAR. Look, we're as fickle as anybody else, aren't we? I'm just as bad. I blame myself. I'm not sitting up in some ivory tower here. I'm exactly the same. I was calling for VAR, and now we got it. I wish we hadn't bothered with it. I really didn't. But we've got it. And it's no point in saying, well, we just got to get on with it and live with it. No, this is where we've got to campaign and say, actually, if you're going to use VAR, you've got to make sure that it's not open to interpretation. It is definitive by, consensus opinion. But also, you've got to change the rules. Or you've got to change where VAR is being used. Because if you're using VAR, let's say in one match where somebody gets sent off for a foul, let's say, and then in another match it's not even used by the referee, or VAR doesn't even step in automatically to judge when somebody's committed a foul and should have been sent off, then there's an issue there. There isn't the consistency, there isn't the continuity across all games. Forget about the whole VAR debacle in the FA Cup ties, whether that should be used. It can only be used at Premier League encounters and not in lower league encounters. That should be scrapped at all. You shouldn't have VAR in the FA Cup unless every single game is covered by it. So again, they've got it wrong. They've got the implementation wrong. They've got the way they're using it wrong. They've not considered the fan experience whatsoever. And we, just like many other teams this season, are suffering with really either incorrect decisions, decisions that are open to interpretation, or that they're so on the margins that really you should be given any kind of advantage to the attacker. And it's not those incorrect decisions that anybody's complaining about. It's not those ones that, it was mostly a handball or something like that, which has kind of raised a few eyebrows. The overwhelming majority of problems now are with either VAR not picking up issues on the game, or it's these very fine margins where you think, do you know what? This shouldn't be a foul, or it shouldn't be a handball, or it shouldn't be an offside. You've got to change the rules now. The handball rules got to change. The offside rules got to change. How we do it, what we do it. Should it be a full body in front? Should it be a half body or a whole foot? Whatever. Should you only consider the feet as the marker? Should you only consider the chest as the marker? The problem is with the chest, as in within athletics, others have quoted saying athletics should be used as the example here, where the measuring at the tape is at the chest. But the problems with athletics are that you're all facing the same way and you're all running towards a line, whereas footballers are not. Some would be on the half turn, some would be back to goal, all that kind of stuff. So some would be on the front foot. That's what you can't have. That it's a totally different thing. So what do you do next? You go on the feet. That's probably the best way to do. So that the attacker's furthest foot forward is the marker, and then the defender's furthest foot forward, let's say, and you've got to have daylight between those two. If there isn't daylight between those two points, let's say, then it's offside, let's say. But otherwise, it's onside. There's got to be a change. There's got to be a change, because this is just going to get worse and worse and worse. And unfortunately, it's ruining it's ruining the moment. You have that excitement to say that you've just equalised and it's taken away from you. But let's not forget that decisions can go for us as well, and we'd be like, thank Christ for that, just like the Sheffield United fans were. But either way, it's wrong. Either way, they've got to look at VAR, and it's not just West Ham here. Of course, it's every team that in the land that's probably being affected by this, in one way or another. They've got to tighten up. They've got to change it. Okay, the other thing I just wanted to quickly talk about was Fabianski. Oh, it's just a... I don't know. I don't know if they brought him back too soon. I don't know. I don't know if it is that. I think it's just a recurrence of it. It was a slightly different injury, but it seemed like a really innocuous kind of goal kick that he did, and it just went, doesn't it? And it's going to take weeks. I don't know. I mean, the scare score is saying that it could be months before he's back. We got a problem now. We got Martin who came in goal, who basically there was a mix-up there. He made the mistake. It was a poor pass out to Balbuena, who was coming back. It went to the wrong side of Balbuena. It should have been gone to these, as Balbuena was running back towards goal, it should have gone towards his left side so he could have turned away and gone from the attacker. It went on his right-hand side, a little bit too far away from him, gave the opportunity to their attacker, and that's it. They got, it was attacker. They had a bit of a set to themselves. But look, we shouldn't be relying on David Martin here. And also, Fabianski is injured. We've got the worst luck here with the goalkeepers this year. Roberto, God knows what's going to happen with him, whether he's going to go back to Spain or not, whether he's going to get sold, who knows. But I still want David Martin in there. I still think we've got to pull together. And I think somebody said somewhere, I don't know, that, in the face of adversity, there is always opportunity. And here we've got the opportunity to actually come together as a fan base, come together, as a team, as a squad, as management, coaches and players, backs against the wall, solidarity, us against them. Whether you're fighting the system, whether you're fighting the refereeing decisions, the VAR decisions, whatever it is, but there is an opportunity here for everybody, every player within that dressing room to come together and start feeling hard done by and actually start putting in great performances and a great unity together in their play. We lacked a lot of that in the performance, and I think we can regain it. We can regain it, and we've got massive games ahead of us. The next few games are really tough. Let's be under no illusion. When people start harping on about saying, we haven't got, we should be winning these games or whatever, we should be beating these teams, we're X, Y, and Z. The problem is that we have no given right to win any game, and we've got to fight. And there's, it's naive to think that we should be winning any game at all anyway. This is a rescue mission. Let's not forget that. David Moyes just come in, 2 good results. We could have got away a point, which would have been a great result, really. But the performance has to be improved. It has to be consistent. All the players have to be improved. Maybe look at the team selections. Maybe look at the playing players regularly, or whether you need to drop them for a couple of games and bring them back into they come in at a peak performance again. Look, we've got a few injuries as well. We need to work through those, but hopefully we can go on to the next game and hopefully get a decent performance, a decent result, and hopefully get clear of the relegation zone and clear into mid-table by the end of the season. But it's a tough ask, and based on that performance, we are still going to struggle. But based on the previous 2 performances, we should be all right. It's still a knife's edge. We're still undecided as a fan base, as commentators, as pundits, whatever, whether this is going to be a season that we can survive or whether we're going to be dragged into a fight right into the very last game of the season. But, this is where we're at. All I can say is bring on Everton and up the Hammers. Catch you on the next one. Ta-da.